are supposed to be places of healing, yet sometimes they become the final resting place for souls that simply refuse to leave. And that's what makes this particular footage so deeply unsettling. This intensive care unit, located in Portugal, has become one of the most paranormally charged locations on record, with security cameras repeatedly picking up strange shapes rising from beneath the bedsheets and shifting their form. Simultaneously, objects throughout the room begin to violently stir, and medical monitors display active readings despite the room being completely empty. It all reportedly began after a patient died within these very walls, and his spirit chose to remain. The staff have since refused to admit any new patients into this room. A YouTuber going by the name JJKick651 uploaded a brief clip documenting an unsettling experience he had one night while trying to get some sleep. He claims he jolted awake at roughly 1:01 in the morning after noticing something off happening on the other side of his room. A collection of medals mounted on the wall seemed to be shifting without any obvious cause. Wanting answers, he reached for his phone and started recording to see if he could catch the movement on film. For a moment, everything is still, and then...
I just saw these medals. Look. Do you see that? Oh my gosh. What in the world? Oh.
Sure enough, the medals pinned to the wall start swaying on their own. The movement is distinct, almost as though something had passed right through them. At the same time, a hat resting on a nearby shelf topples off without anyone touching it. And if that weren't enough, the closet door begins to drift open on its own, despite the fact that nobody else should be anywhere near it. It's the rapid succession of these events that gives the footage its particularly creepy edge. Some who watched it are convinced it points to paranormal forces at work, perhaps a spirit making its presence known through the objects in the room. That said, skeptics would argue the whole thing could have been set up in advance. Medals can be rigged to move from just out of frame, and a door can easily be positioned to gradually swing open by itself. Still, staged or not, waking up in the dead of night to find objects shifting around your room on their own is the kind of thing that would rattle just about anyone. On August 13th, 2021, at a known paranormal investigation site, two investigators stepped into a vacant room and began their exploration. Just as they were preparing to move further into the building, an unsettling feeling crept over them, the distinct sensation of being watched.
Your camera pick it up?
One of them swung the camera around, and that's when it appeared. A towering dark figure lurking in the corner. Something deeply wrong about its presence. Something that would haunt them long after that night.
If you could hear anything, just come forward.
Whoa!
Not a single word was exchanged. They bolted, shaken to their core by what they'd witnessed, driven by one instinct alone: get out. Those sounds were far too consistent, too deliberate to be written off as the wind. Every knock landed in perfect sequence, always originating from the exact same location, as though something, or someone, was intentionally demanding his attention. That thought alone was enough to send a wave of dread through him. This wasn't just ambient noise. Something was there, refusing to just sit with the uncertainty. Jackson pulled out his phone and hit record, making his way down the staircase, every groan of the floorboards slicing through the heavy quiet around him. The knocking intensified, clearly coming from the storage room at the far end of the house. Yet the moment his hand touched the door, everything went silent. His heart hammering, he twisted the handle and eased the door open inch by inch. The room looked completely undisturbed, everything exactly where it should be. He muttered under his breath that it was probably nothing, but just as he was about to walk away, a cardboard box shifted forward by itself, dragging across the floor with a soft, unsettling scrape. Jackson went rigid, the air stuck in his lungs, then backed away without making a sound. The footage cuts out shortly after, but the message is unmistakable. Whatever is lurking in that storage room isn't done reaching out. A man reported that for several nights running, he'd been plagued by an unsettling sensation inside his own bedroom. He described waking up in the early hours with a powerful feeling that he wasn't the only one there, as though some unseen presence was keeping a close eye on him. Determined to get to the bottom of it, he made up his mind that the next time the feeling struck, he'd have his camera ready, and sure enough, one night it came back. He jolted awake, reached for his phone, and began recording. What showed up in that footage was deeply unsettling. Captured on film is a chilling silhouette standing right beside the bed, looming over the man as he lays there motionless. The figure appears to be locked onto him, staring through the dark, but the moment he shifts the camera slightly to reposition himself, it vanishes without a trace. To this day, the man has no idea what to make of what was recorded that night. Could it be nothing more than shadows playing tricks, or is there something genuinely sinister lurking in that room? Whatever the case, for that man's peace of mind, let's hope there turns out to be a far more rational answer. One night, a vehicle had overturned on the road, and by the time emergency responders reached the scene, the driver had already lost their life. An officer who responded to the crash began filming, and what his camera captured was something no one could explain. A dim, see-through shape drifted across the footage. It moved and appeared human in form, yet it was unmistakably different from everyone else visible in the video. According to those present, only the officer and the medical crew were on site at the time. There are those who believe it may have been the driver's soul lingering at the location for one last moment before departing, though the truth remains a mystery. The next chilling clip was uploaded by a woman who goes by Jay, who explains that she relocated to her late grandfather's home several months back. From the start, she felt deeply unsettled by the collection of old dolls scattered throughout the house. Then one night, while she was sitting in her bedroom, browsing on her laptop, something absolutely terrifying unfolded.
This thing just moved.
Screaming about the Dallas Cowboys and sticking forth in this organization. So again, kudos to the Cowboys going on the road, getting a bit of a win. Let's see how they react. There's a saying in golf, there's no pictures in the scorecard. Get down like you don't care if it's like $5 or something like. You just happy that you moved to 2-2. The injury to Parsons and
The door just moved.
33 proposed 100 affordable housing lots, including
Early on, much more involved, particularly the safety over the top. And you'll see right down here.
A free personal Suzuki dessert. An entree plus free dessert, just $13. That's a sweet deal. There's a lot of involved.
Are you real? You can do it again. I won't watch.
See for yourself. Initially, Jay had a nagging feeling that one of the dolls had shifted position, but she dismissed it as her mind playing tricks on her. Figuring the doll would stay still if she stared at it head on, she decided to observe it through the reflection of a mirror instead. That's when the doll's hand twitched ever so slightly, sending Jay into a panic as she bolted straight out of the room.
You can do it again. I won't watch.
A number of commenters have pointed out that the balloon near the closed door appeared to react to the doll's movement, as though the doll was deliberately trying to conceal what it was doing from Jay's line of sight. So where do you stand on this one? Was this doll genuinely possessed, or is there a more rational explanation for everything that went down? There's a museum somewhere in the United States known as the Paranormal Museum, and it's devoted entirely to the otherworldly, home to an enormous collection of objects that are said to be haunted, gathered from locations all over the globe. The museum runs a TikTok account under the handle Paranormal Museum, where they frequently post footage of strange incidents caught by their security system. But lately, things have taken a turn from eerie to outright frightening. One night, a staff member was alone at the front desk after hours, quietly working on his laptop. The building was locked up, completely empty, with nothing but him and the rows of mysterious artifacts surrounding him. A sound resembling a cough suddenly breaks the silence, and the employee glances up, visibly puzzled, since he knows full well no one else should be there. Within moments, an unseen force slams him hard into the counter. He staggers, clearly rattled, and wastes no time collecting his belongings and getting out of there. Several weeks later, a group arrived at the museum to carry out a paranormal investigation. Armed with cameras and audio equipment, they were eager to capture evidence of activity, though nothing could have prepared them for what unfolded.
It's the do this freeze.
Mid-investigation, one of the team members is suddenly hit by something that cannot be seen. The blow is powerful enough to nearly send him to the floor, eerily mirroring what the lone employee had experienced weeks before. When the museum uploaded both clips side by side, followers were quick to point out the striking resemblance. In each case, a person was physically struck with considerable force by something completely invisible. A lot of people believe the haunted artifacts on display are behind it all, that the entities tied to those objects have become hostile. Others are convinced that whatever presence inhabits the paranormal museum has moved beyond rattling items and producing strange noises, and has now started making direct physical contact with anyone who enters. This unnerving clip comes from Spain, where a man by the name of Casos had been laid up at home after coming down with an illness. All he wanted was a calm day to recuperate, but that peace was shattered when strange sounds began drifting in from the kitchen. His first instinct was to dismiss it, maybe a pet knocking something over, or just the house settling. But the feeling wouldn't leave him, so Casos grabbed his phone and went to check it out. What his camera caught in those next few moments genuinely shook him.
Vuelvo a cerrar. Tengo la taza. Esa es mi bebé. Esa pulguita es mi bebé, que se llama Canela. Y esperando. Aquí vean la piolita. Ya, ahí empezó. Ya. Voy a empezar a huevear. Estoy hueveando. Bueno. No es algo muy normal. La taza se movió. El gato. No es muy agradable la sensación que se vive acá. Ya, es hueveo, ya. Ya cabros, un ratito para afuera.
Right there on the counter, a coffee mug began sliding across the surface with no one anywhere near it. Then, just when he thought it was over, it moved a second time, as though something invisible was deliberately announcing its presence. No windows were open, nothing was causing vibrations, and Casos was completely alone. The motion was unhurried and precise, the kind of thing that defies any rational explanation. If he hadn't been recording, his account would have been laughed off entirely. The footage spread rapidly across the internet, with a huge number of viewers coming to the same conclusion, that something not of this world had made itself at home in that kitchen. The following clip features a creator named D, who runs a YouTube channel called D Dark Adventures, dedicated to venturing into eerie locations and uncovering some genuinely disturbing places. In this particular video, Dee makes her way into a forest somewhere in Ohio, where she stumbles upon an unusual trail she simply can't resist following. The footage runs close to an hour and carries a deeply unsettling vibe as we watch her move carefully through the darkened woods late at night. For a good stretch of time, things stay relatively calm until around the halfway point, when suddenly the camera picks up something alarming.
What is on my face? Yeah. Hi. Hi. Yep. I gotta get down. I can't go home. Fuck. Sorry. No! Stop, please. Please. Please, I'm leaving.
You can make out two luminous eyes glowing from somewhere deep between the trees, seemingly fixed right on her. Then, barely 2 minutes after that, Dee runs into yet another spine-chilling moment. Pay close attention to what unfolds here.
I think I'm gonna stick up the field and walk up the road, even though it's gonna be harder. It's cooler out here. I get more of a break. More of a break. What the fuck is that? What is that? It's a snow! What the fuck is it? Dude, no! It looks like a person, man. But no person. It looks like a fucking person. Stop! That ain't a person. That ain't a person. Ah! It just keeps getting up and down, up and down. Stop! Fuck, I can't run. Ah! Somebody drive by, somebody drive by.
A dark silhouette can be seen trailing behind Dee as she moves through the woods. Luckily, she manages to put distance between herself and whatever that thing was, eventually making it out of the forest safely. Still, it's hard not to think about how differently that night could have gone had she not gotten out when she did. Here's hoping that if Dee ever feels the urge to return to those woods, she at least waits until daylight. Paranormal investigators Jeff and Mark head out to explore a location known as the Arkham Cells. This floor was constructed in 1826 as a fortified structure designed to defend Britain against a possible French invasion. Today, Arkham sits abandoned and largely sealed off, with reports of strange paranormal phenomena and unexplained events continuing to emerge from the cells. The moment Jeff and Mark switched their cameras on, before they even had a chance to officially begin the investigation, something in the tunnels stopped them cold.
Lighted, yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. Fuck, that's loud. There's someone walking around. Oh, my ears are standing on end, man. Lucky we're recording that. We haven't even camped it in yet. That's fucking crazy.
We're hearing walking.
It's getting closer. Jesus.
Someone's, we've just turned on the camera and there's someone walking behind us.
Oh my God. That's loud. There's someone walking around. Oh, my ears are standing on end, man. Lucky we were.
The banging reverberated all around them, gradually shifting into the deeply unsettling sound of ghostly footsteps. The two exchanged stunned glances, knowing full well they were the only ones down there. The pair made their way through the tunnels, placing equipment as they went, and eventually, Mark found himself alone in a pitch-black corridor, conducting a solo session and curious about what kind of responses he might draw out.
Up at the top of the passageway, we've got some devices on the floor. One of them is, if you go up to it, it'll make a buzzing sound and lights will go off. Totally won't hurt you or harm you. And the device next to it is a bell, which you can ring. It's like a porter's bell, which you're probably familiar with from the, if you were alive in the 1930s and 40s. I'm asking out to anybody who may be in the fort with me still to make a noise or touch one of our devices, please? What date were you here? Whoa. What the f? Who's that? I can hear movement from down there behind the static camera, like shuffling.
A thunderous bang erupted from the far end of the tunnel, as though something heavy had been hurled across the space. Mark stared into the darkness, trying to process what he'd just experienced. Meanwhile, Jeff was running his own solo session in a separate area.
What we've done, we placed some motion balls along the floor. And I've got a digital recorder. Whoa! What the f was that? Well, that's
As the night began winding down, Jeff posed one final question that appeared to provoke a direct response.
So, would you like us just to leave now? Shall we leave? There's walking. There's walking. And it sounds as if it's coming from the cell behind the camera. Shall we leave? There's walking. There's walking. And it sounds as if it's coming from the cell.
Almost immediately after, the unmistakable sound of footsteps could be heard coming from the cell right in front of him, seemingly triggered by his question about whether it was time for them to leave. Based on everything they encountered that night, it's hard to deny that something is still very much present within the Arkham cells. This next clip comes from the account shown on your screen right now. One ordinary evening, the uploader was sitting at his desk and on a whim decided to snap a few photos. What those photos revealed left him completely shaken.
I'm literally freaking shaking right now. I'm so freaking scared. I just got finished checking my whole apartment. I just found out, oh my god, I just found out you can connect your camera to your computer that doesn't have a webcam, and you can use your phone as a camera. Okay, so I was on the photo booth app. I was just like, okay, let me play around with it. I haven't used this in forever, and oh my god, I'm so fucking scared. I was taking the photos, whatever, and I was looking back at them, and I saw that there's this black line, and it's because my cabinet opened a little bit, and I went to the next one, and I don't even know why this is like lit up back here. You know, this is like the thermal photo thing, and it's like lit up. So I kept going to the next one, and I swear I freaked out because one, I don't know how it opened, but two, I swear that's like a face right there. Like it's literally like I don't understand like what that could be. Like it's literally a face, and I'm like I'm freaking out right now. And the next one, like the computer started glitching, so it took, I don't know what this is, and then I took a photo. When I realized, it just like snapped a photo automatically. But I swear that's, and I've already checked. I checked my whole apartment. And this, I thought maybe it was up this because this is black up here, but it was on the second shelf. Like it was not up. It was right here, and there's nothing that looks anything remotely like that. Like it's so, I don't understand. I don't know if I'm overreacting or I don't know what to do. Like
I'm literally freaking shaking right now. I'm so freaking scared. I just got finished checking my whole apartment. I just found out. Oh my god, you can connect your camera to your computer that doesn't have a webcam and use your phone as a camera instead. So I was on the photo booth app, just messing around with it, something I hadn't done in forever. And yeah, I'm so freaking scared. I was taking photos, whatever, and when I looked back through them, I noticed there's this black line, and it's because my cabinet had opened up a little bit. I went to the next photo, and I don't even know why this area back here is all lit up. You know, like the thermal filter thing, it's just glowing. So I kept going, and I completely freaked out, because 1, I have no idea how it opened, and 2, I swear, that is a face right there. Like, it literally looks like a face. I genuinely cannot figure out what else that could be. And then the next photo, the computer started glitching, so it captured I don't even know what. And then one just snapped automatically on its own. But I swear, that's something. And I've already searched everywhere. I checked my entire apartment. I thought maybe it was something up top, because it's dark up there. But this was on the second shelf, right here. And there is absolutely nothing up there that looks even remotely like that. I don't understand. I don't know if I'm overreacting. I don't know what to do. I swear that is a face. As he sits in front of the camera, the cabinet directly behind him swings open by itself, and a disturbing face can be seen staring back at him. Plenty of viewers believe this footage captured something genuinely supernatural, while others aren't so sure. But the story doesn't stop there. Days later, he uploaded a follow-up video, and this one is somehow even more unsettling.
Oh shit.
He's jolted awake in the dead of night by strange noises coming from somewhere inside his home. What unfolds from that point on is the kind of thing that makes your blood run cold. Items begin dropping and shifting with no one near them. Clearly terrified, he bolts straight out of the apartment without a second thought. A lot of people watching are convinced this is the real deal, though others suspect the whole thing could be an elaborate setup. So where do you stand? Genuine paranormal activity or just a well-executed hoax? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. A man living alone with his cat, Loki, has been noticing odd little sounds around his home for some time. Among his belongings is an old African mask he picked up at a car boot sale, along with a second mask he later sold off. He's owned this particular mask for roughly a year, though it's only been inside the house for the past few months. Lately, however, the strange occurrences have been escalating. On November 18th, 2025, he films himself taking a closer look at the mask when something deeply unsettling gets recorded. See for yourself what the camera picked up.
To see the mask up close. So here it is. It's a big chin. Yeah, you can see inside. It's all, you can see where it's been carved out with a tool. Just about to see the markings there from the chisel. And it has a really weird smell to it. Kind of like a burnt kind of wood, musty wood smell. But I've no idea how old it is. Not a clue. I'm not going to say super old, but you know, I think it's got a bit of age to it. Could be wrong. If anyone's got any opinions on this after they've seen it up close, what kind of mask it is, how old it might be. No expert. But what the fuck? No. Well, that's not fucking freaky, is it? Jesus fucking Christ. For fuck's sake. I'm tripping over stuff now. Hello? Hello? Oh, fucking hell. Oh, fuck. Everyone's been saying, why have you got the lights off all the time? The landing light does not work, right? There's no bulb in this light. Because usually I ain't fucking shit scared of going upstairs. But I'm doing this because I just want to try and prove to you all there's nobody in this fucking house but me. And whatever the fuck this is that's fucking with me. Oh! Oh my god! Oh, you fucking hell. There was a figure in the window.
Eerie noises begin echoing through the house, then something stirs upstairs. When he goes to investigate, what appears to be a dark, shadowy figure is visible, standing there through the window, sending him scrambling back down the stairs. He then sets up a security camera pointed at the living room where the mask is kept, and almost immediately, it records this. An object inside one of the cabinets shifts on its own, and the shadow of a moving figure is reflected across the corner of a picture frame. The very next evening, he hears something strange coming from the floor below, so he grabs his phone to capture it. And here's what happened next.
Hello? Oh, fuck. Fuck. I did not leave that light on.
After a series of persistent tapping sounds from downstairs, he heads down to investigate, only to discover everything in disarray before a spoon launches itself out of a drawer and flies directly at him. As he bolts back upstairs, something can be heard rapidly following close behind him.
To him.
The incidents continue to grow in both intensity and frequency, and he's now wrestling with the question of whether the mask needs to go. Until that decision is made, it seems whatever is happening in that house isn't done yet. Travel with F is an Indonesian-run YouTube channel known for documenting spine-chilling paranormal experiences. One of the host's friends, who works nights as a security guard, was recently posted at a vacant warehouse in the middle of a renovation. The place is completely deserted, pitch dark, full of hidden corners, exactly the kind of environment where something sinister can take hold. To keep tabs on potential intruders, the guard had set up a network of security cameras throughout the building. During an earlier incident, one of those cameras picked up something deeply disturbing, a pale face with glowing white eyes peering down from the attic. The guard went up to check immediately and found absolutely nothing. No one concealed in the shadows, no footprints, not a single trace of any presence. Then, just a few days on, another motion alert triggered. See for yourself what the camera recorded.
Atas tangga ini. Bebas. Terserah kalian guys, mau pilih mana yang mana. Tuh, kan nggak ada. Itu bro, stikernya. Ntar kita coba stiker itu. Ini stiker atau apa sih? Ini mah manusia. Stiker matamu. Manusia juri. Susulin jangan.
This time around, the footage revealed that same ghostly, wide-eyed figure crouching near an overhead storage space, silently observing everything from up above. Shaken to his core, the guard is now convinced that something supernatural has made the attic its home, lurking patiently in the darkness.
Just rock it a little bit. Just a little bit. I know you can do it. Come on.
William is clearly shaken, but it's the next video, recorded a month later, that's even more disturbing. He's home alone when this happens.
Okay, a few minutes ago, I was sitting on the couch over there, and I was just watching TV and on Facebook as usual, and I don't know where Baxter is. Right there. Baxter was sitting next to me on the couch, and Hazel, this girl, was way back here in the hall. Okay? And all of a sudden, these vertical blinds they rattled by themselves. Like somebody just walked into them. They're shaking a little bit now, but it's because of the heating vent. It's adjacent, and they always sway a little bit. Or Baxter, he hangs out and he moves them. But we're going to try to get it to happen again. James, if you're here, move those blinds again, because that was really good. And I didn't get it on tape when it happened the first time. I don't know. I think that was the vent. It wasn't like what it did before. Holy.
People watching, William is completely at a loss, though his mind keeps circling back to James as the likely culprit. What actually triggered the strange activity he recorded remains a mystery to this day.
Holy.
Could James truly be a spirit lingering within William's house, or does something else entirely account for what's been happening? As always, the conclusion is yours to draw. The topiary arrangement was also most effective when they decided to film a quick clip showing off their park in a hurry, standing outside a bagel shop in New York for a friend back in Ecuador. But it was what they discovered afterward that left them completely unsettled.
I want everyone to look at this. Just want everyone to look at this.
Not long into the recording, the dolphins suddenly appear, and the footage carries with it a chilling whisper that seems to say, "Don't hurt yourself."
Look at this.
Nobody else was anywhere nearby at the time. It's pretty clear that she never heard anyone utter those words while she was filming. So the question remains, who or what did that voice belong to? It might just be a ghost trying to warn her that the bagel is a little too hot. Number 2. Back in October of 2024, a French woman by the name of Alex began posting videos on TikTok. She explained that shortly after moving into her new home, a series of deeply unsettling and inexplicable things started occurring. Despite how frightened she was, she made every effort to get these moments on camera.
C'est quoi cette putain de blague?
À bientôt pour un nouveau concert.
The longer she stayed in that house, the more bizarre the activity became, and it always seemed to ramp up whenever she found herself there alone. After a series of loud banging sounds, Alex grabbed her phone and hit record. As she swept the camera across the room, a drawer slid open by itself, sending a wave of dread through her. She headed toward the staircase to check the floor below, but the sudden thundering of footsteps charging up the stairs startled her so badly that she dropped her phone entirely. Even her cat went sprinting downstairs in a panic. For a brief period after that, things seemed to settle. But as always, the calm never holds. While she was resting in her bedroom, Alex began picking up the faint sound of a piano playing. She carefully made her way downstairs, the music continuing right up until the moment she entered the room, when it cut off instantly. As she stood there, staring at the piano in disbelief, the cabinet nearby burst open and sent objects tumbling to the floor. Then she noticed the rocking chair, slowly swaying back and forth, as though someone had only just stood up from it. Whatever presence lingered in her home clearly wasn't done, and it seemed to have a particular fondness for toys. While watching cartoons without a care, Alex suddenly heard a loud banging coming from another room, and the moment she stepped through the doorway, her heart nearly gave out. Her large stuffed teddy bear was moving on its own, its legs shifting back and forth in an eerie, rhythmic motion. Even her cat was locked onto it, unable to look away. It's no wonder these events made it nearly impossible for Alex to get any sleep. I suppose it's difficult to rest easy when your housemate is a ghost with an obsession for stuffed animals. The account visible on screen posted a video to Instagram that rapidly drew attention from viewers across the platform. The user had taken a trip to a museum alongside his father, who mentioned he'd always had an uneasy feeling about the place. Inside, there's an exhibit dedicated to a woman named Maria Sabrina, a historical figure widely recognized for her ties to witchcraft. Among the displays stands a wax figure of Maria, though many who've seen it say it looks disturbingly lifelike. Intrigued, the son decided to film the statue, and what he recorded is genuinely unsettling. In just a fraction of a second, the statue appears to animate. The head shifts ever so slightly, a small motion, yet more than enough to make your skin crawl. He continued filming, but nothing further happened. The figure stayed completely still from that point on. Later, the museum's owner released footage confirming that the statue contains no mechanical components or moving parts whatsoever. It's nothing more than a basic wax sculpture, and yet the question refuses to go away. What caused that head to move? Could Maria's spirit somehow be bound to her likeness? Or does a more logical answer exist? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. The TikTok account shown on screen belongs to a couple who have recently begun encountering strange, unexplained events inside their house. Initially, they brushed it off, hoping things would settle down on their own. Then one day, while the woman was by herself at home, she caught something on camera that genuinely shook her. The tapestry hanging on the wall suddenly tears away, as though an unseen force ripped it down violently. Frightened, she rushes out of the room immediately. She later revealed that these kinds of incidents are growing more frequent, and they almost always seem to occur when she's alone. Then one evening, while she was out, she spotted something odd nearby and instinctively hit record.
Amigo, no manejo nada de mecatrónica, es una figura totalmente en cera. Mira, es una pieza total, rígida, no se puede manipular. Te digo, no tiene nada, te digo, mira, te muestro. No hay cables, no hay nada, no.
And here's what the camera picked up. One of the swings in the park near her building is swaying on its own, while every other swing around it stays completely motionless. It's deeply unsettling on its own, but even more so given everything unfolding inside her home. Could the same presence be responsible? Is something genuinely tracking her beyond her own walls? Or could the whole thing be one carefully constructed deception? Coes was by himself late at night, sitting at his desk when an odd sound drifted in from somewhere beyond his door. Initially, it was barely noticeable, almost like a muffled voice, faint and far away, the type of thing you'd normally dismiss as a neighbor or some outside noise. Even so, it unsettled him enough that he grabbed his phone and hit record. He briefly heads outside to look around, then returns and makes his way slowly through the house, checking each room one by one, trying to reassure himself that nothing is out of place. For a moment, everything seems fine again, quiet, almost eerily so. But the second he walks into his parents' bedroom, that sense of calm vanishes completely. The wardrobe door directly ahead of him starts to swing open by itself. Gradually, its hinges groaning as though something behind it is pushing its way out. Coes freezes on the spot, then retreats as the door continues swinging with nobody anywhere close to it. He maintains that he was the only person in the house and that no air current could have been responsible for what he witnessed. From that night on, he says he refused to sleep in that room again, certain that whatever had made those sounds earlier had simply been waiting for him to find it. Late at night, a doorbell camera recorded something that nobody should ever have to witness. In footage posted by Kali Lawa, a family is in the process of heading out for a trip. The daughter realizes she's left something behind, dashes back into the house, then hurries out once more. On the surface, everything looks completely fine until they go back and review the recording and spot something that sends a chill straight down the spine.
Because it's not fully dark yet.
The instant the girl steps inside, a figure abruptly materializes along the edge of the frame, pale, barely visible, almost translucent. It drifts down the street in a way that doesn't look quite human, as though it only partially exists in this world. But the detail that really gets under your skin comes right after. The figure appears to track the girl's movement, heading toward the house in the same direction she went, and then it just stops. It holds perfectly still for a brief moment, before dissolving into nothing. There are those who believe this could be a genuine apparition, something sinister lurking in the vicinity, possibly even shadowing the girl herself. But where do you stand on this? Is what we're seeing something that belongs to our reality, or something that exists far outside of it? Let us know your theory down in the comments. This clip comes from a CCTV camera pointed at a bridge, and what it captured is genuinely unsettling. At first, two guys appear to just be hanging out there. Nothing out of the ordinary. That all changes in an instant when one of them is suddenly confronted by a figure that seems to appear out of nowhere. As things unfold, one of the men spots something off and swings his flashlight in that direction. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he moves in for a closer look, a decision he immediately regrets. What he comes face to face with appears to be a full-on apparition, and the terror hits him so hard that he collapses right there on the bridge. Not long after, his buddy clocks the same thing, and rather than rushing to help his unconscious friend, pure panic takes over and he bolts, leaving the other man completely alone. Now, as disturbing as this footage is, whether it's the real deal or not is still up for debate. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to know what you think is actually going on here. In the following clip you're about to watch, we see a group of friends are hanging out in a room, one of them on acoustic guitar, singing, everyone settled in for a relaxed evening with no reason to be anywhere else. Metallica poster on the wall, the kind of low-key night that feels completely ordinary from every angle. That's the setup, but watch the window on the left side of the room.
Lip mi acordé. Sabi lang, parang
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go.
Kailan naman lagi pa nga?
A pale, blurry white figure passes by outside in the darkness. Briefly, just long enough to register. In paranormal research, figures observed through glass, windows, doors, mirrors, occupy a specific and deeply unsettling category because glass has long been considered a liminal surface, a boundary between the interior world and whatever exists outside of it. Cultures across history have treated reflective and transparent surfaces as thresholds, places where the barrier between the living and the dead runs thin enough for something to press through. A pale figure standing just outside a window at night, still enough to watch, close enough to see, that isn't just a jump scare. That's something positioning itself at exactly the kind of boundary it would need to be at. So what do you think? Is there something on the other side of that glass? Or is this just a very precise reminder of why we don't like looking out dark windows at night? In this next clip, a teenager is standing on a dark, unlit path at night, surrounded by dense foliage, speaking directly into his phone with a worried expression. The kind of look you get when something already feels off before you can explain exactly why. He'd been out late, filming on his own, and according to what he says, he'd just received a call and was trying to explain the situation to someone he calls Brother Han. His voice already edging toward panic, even in those opening seconds. Watch.
Tembak kita masuk, oi. Lelet tadi hosi, oi. Arti menelpon. Bangan, lagi tembak-tembak bangan, gitu ke ujung bangan. Palu tembak-tembak.
Right there, in the deep darkness behind him, a tall, slender, pale, humanoid figure stands completely still on the path, barely visible without the highlight pointing it out. But once you see it, it's impossible to look past. The teenager himself seems to sense something, turning and scanning the darkness, even raising a second phone toward the figure as if to capture it more clearly. But he never fully sees what's already standing just feet away. Some viewers who follow similar cases from Southeast Asia immediately recognized the description, tall, pale, unmoving, and connected it to what Indonesian folklore calls a pocong, a spirit of the dead said to appear as a white shrouded figure bound at the feet and unable to rest until certain burial rites are completed. Others think it's simply someone standing on the path at night, but that explanation gets harder to hold onto when you consider how still it stands and how fast his panic escalates. The second clip follows a man in a cemetery at night, visibly shaken before he's even said a word, standing among green-tiled graves with the darkness pressing in from every direction. Take a look.
Apa challenge? Isa, ini ka, kan biole. Mana apa challenge soy? Mana ni aku cek? Kalau kau begitu hidup bilang seru ni cek. Kau bilang seru ni cek.
Behind him, framed between two graves, a tall, pale, white-clad figure stands completely motionless. It doesn't shift, doesn't turn, doesn't react to the man sitting just meters in front of it. He puts his hands on his head, sits down on the edge of a grave, and keeps looking toward the camera with wide, frightened eyes, asking, "What is that?" in a voice that's clearly not performing calm. The cemetery setting matters here because in Malay and Indonesian traditions, tall, pale figures spotted among graves at night are frequently associated with kuntilanak or pontianak, female spirits tied to death and burial grounds, often described as appearing in white, standing still before making their presence violently known. Skeptics argue both this and the previous clip could be someone stationed in the background for effect, and the dramatic sound design added in post-production doesn't help the case for authenticity. But the figure's stillness is what unsettles people most. It doesn't perform, it just stands there, and that somehow makes it worse. In the third clip, a man is sitting on the ground in what appears to be another cemetery at night, reddish-purple plants rising behind him, white grave markers visible in the row beyond. He's looking at his phone, expression heavy, the way someone looks when they're already on edge and trying to stay composed. Listen closely.
Oh, banyak oi. Tep boy.
Before anything moves, the audio hits first, a wave of high-pitched, frantic wailing tears through the night, a sound that blends a woman screaming with what resembles a baby crying in distress, loud and close, with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The man physically ducks and slaps the back of his neck, then laughs nervously and mutters something about mosquitoes. That one unscripted, mundane detail is exactly what makes his reaction feel real. A second, more mournful wail rises and fades before the clip goes quiet. In Javanese and Malay traditions, a wailing cry heard in a cemetery at night is often attributed to a kuntilanak, sometimes described as crying loudly to locate its victims, with the direction of the sound said to indicate whether it's near or far. The man's final words, challenging whatever is out there to respond, suggest he hasn't decided to run yet. Whether that's courage or something else is hard to say. The fourth clip brings a teenager outdoors at night on a dirt path, trees swallowing the darkness behind him, speaking casually into the camera while crickets fill the air around him. His demeanor is relaxed at first, hands on hips, gesturing as he talks, completely unaware of what's hanging in the trees directly behind him. Watch closely.
Pak Nandu. Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam. Tap teman-teman, tap. Apa anak nelayan? Hah? Satu corgi kita masuk ke dalam, satu corgi.
A pale, draped humanoid figure hangs motionless among the dark branches, positioned there the entire time as he speaks, highlighted repeatedly while he stays oblivious, until around the halfway point, when something shifts. His tone changes fast. He stops mid-sentence, looks off to his right, then over his shoulder into the black woods, and starts urging whoever's with him to go inside immediately. Hurry, hurry! His voice now raw with urgency. Some viewers suggested the pale shape could be a kain kafan, a burial shroud, referencing the same tradition tied to the pokong from the first clip. The idea being that burial cloth appearing in trees is considered a deeply bad omen in parts of Indonesia and Malaysia. It didn't move the entire time he was standing beneath it. What finally scared him off isn't entirely clear from the footage, but across all 4 of these clips, a figure on a dark path, one standing still between graves, disembodied wailing with no source, and something pale hanging in the trees. What stands out isn't any single moment. It's the pattern, the same region, the same type of figure, the same breathless reaction from people who seem to have no idea what's already right behind them. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. What is it that keeps appearing in the dark, and why does it always seem to be waiting there before anyone even knows to look? The following footage was captured by a home security camera system, the same YE brand setup installed throughout what appears to be a family home, covering both the dining area and the living room. No one was inside at the time, or at least no one visible. The first clip comes from the kitchen and dining space, a well-lit room with a baby-high chair sitting in the walkway, wine glasses hanging on the wall, and the kind of ordinary domestic detail that makes what was caught on the microphone all the more unsettling. Listen closely. At the very start of the recording, before anything else registers, a disembodied whisper cuts through the silence, raspy, slightly distorted, and sounding very much like the words, "Stop it." The room is completely empty. No one walks through the frame, no door opens, nothing shifts. Just that voice, hanging in an otherwise quiet house. Some viewers think it's simply audio interference picked up by the camera's microphone, the kind of electronic artifact that security cameras are known to produce. But others aren't so quick to dismiss it, because a whisper that forms what sounds like words in a room with a baby's high chair sitting in plain view carries a very different weight than random static. That alone is unsettling. The second clip was recorded by another camera in the same home, this one covering the living room at night, with the infrared night vision rendering everything in grainy black and white. A fireplace on the left, a couch on the right, an empty armchair, and an open doorway leading deeper into the house. Watch. A wispy, semi-transparent anomaly materializes near the ceiling above the couch, cloud-like and pale against the dark room. And within a single second, it travels from right to left across the upper portion of the space before vanishing entirely. Skeptics point to insects near the lens as a possible explanation, and that's a fair argument given how infrared cameras can amplify small objects into something that looks far stranger than it is. But the shape and the speed of it are hard to fully account for that way. Some believe what the camera caught was a residual energy moving through the space, the kind of presence that doesn't interact, doesn't respond, just drifts through a room it may have always considered its own. And with that whisper still echoing from the other room, the question isn't just what was seen, it's whether anything in that house was ever truly alone. In this next clip, a man was in the middle of cleaning out what he describes as an abandoned house, dirty floors, old furniture, the kind of place that already puts you on edge just walking through it. It's broad daylight outside, bright natural light cutting through a large window in the main room, so there's no reason yet to feel like something is wrong. He pans the camera across the filthy tile floor, past a dresser, toward a long hallway stretching deeper into the house. The far end of that hallway is swallowed in shadow. Watch.
But I think I see something looking at me through that window. I might be a little delusional.
What appears at the far end of the hallway is a tall, dark, humanoid figure, a solid black silhouette slowly leaning out from behind a doorframe, head and shoulder visible, holding position, peeking directly toward the camera. It doesn't rush, it doesn't retreat, it just stays there, partially exposed, watching, That alone is unsettling enough. What makes it harder to shake is the voiceover. The man's voice stays oddly calm, almost unbothered, saying he might just be a little delusional. Some viewers think that kind of detached delivery is exactly what you'd expect from someone trying to process something their brain isn't ready to accept. Others aren't so sure the house was ever truly abandoned. A few in the comments pointed out that squatters and trespassers in empty properties are far more common than people expect, and a still figure at the end of a dark hallway could just as easily be a living person as anything else. But then there's the shape itself. That slow, deliberate lean out from behind the doorframe, the way it holds the edge like it's deciding whether or not to fully emerge. Some viewers familiar with shadow person reports pointed to exactly that kind of behavior, an entity that exists at the threshold between visible and unseen, never fully revealing itself, as if the act of being partially seen is the whole point. Whether there was someone living in that house who shouldn't have been, or something else entirely occupying that hallway, what would you do if you were the one holding the camera? In this next sequence, we follow a creator named Ryan, who has been dealing with an increasingly exhausting and persistent situation inside his home. For quite some time, he has frequently reported hearing his own name whispered in empty rooms, usually when he is completely alone and going about his daily routine. While working in his workshop and having a casual phone conversation with his aunt, his camera happens to catch a clear, clean audio recording of this exact phenomenon. If you listen closely toward the end of this first clip, a distinct, disembodied voice can be heard whispering a direct message. "I'm sorry, Ryan, it's me."
What you're about to see just happened like an hour ago. Look at this, man. Oh man, we did the Frozen theme. One of my wife's friends flew in from out of state to do the cake. It was great. I miss you guys being there. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. It's okay. How's everything going? Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. He's awesome. Yeah, they always show up. Yeah. I don't know. There's something that's been happening. No one is over here. I don't know if that's. I'm not in it. I'm standing outside of it now. No. Hey, come on, man. Please. I can't keep dealing with this, bro. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. It's me. Oh, it's me.
The activity, however, didn't stop within the walls of his workshop. Days later, Ryan was hosting a live stream to interact with his followers when the presence made itself known once again, this time originating from the outdoor shed on his property. As he streams the dark exterior of his yard, a sharp, clear whispered voice cuts through the quiet night air, caught live on camera.
What the fuck was that? Sorry. Dude. Hold on. Oh my god, come here. Right now.
If you listen closely, the entity appears to utter a single, highly distinct word, Ayesh. In Hindu philosophy and linguistic traditions, this term translates directly to a divine or spiritual essence. This opens up an interesting perspective for paranormal analysis. Rather than dealing with a standard localized haunting or a simple residual imprint of a human spirit, this specific vocabulary might suggest the presence of an intelligent, ancient energy or an elemental entity operating on a completely different spiritual frequency. The progression of these vocalizations is also worth noting from an analytical standpoint. The entity moves from simple, auditory recognition by whispering Ryan's name, to forming a structured, personalized statement of apology, and finally to articulating an abstract, complex philosophical concept outside. This indicates a presence that is highly aware of its environment and potentially trying to define its own nature to the living. So, was this an advanced spirit attempting to communicate its true identity? Or is it an unknown entity merely mimicking profound language to keep Ryan guessing? I'll leave to be the judge. In this clip you're about to watch, a real estate photographer was doing what he's paid to do, walking through an old house, documenting the space, keeping it professional. But from the moment he stepped inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Not the vague, general unease you get from an unfamiliar place, something more specific than that. Something that followed him from room to room like a second heartbeat he couldn't account for. He comes down the staircase, camera rolling, and that's when it happens. Behind him, you can hear the distinct sound of footsteps, and a shadow moves down the stairs like something is following him, step by step, unhurried, unbothered by the fact that he might turn around at any moment. He's the only person in that house. There is no one above him on that staircase, no one on the landing, no one anywhere in the building. And yet, whatever cast that shadow came down those stairs the same way a person would, with weight, with rhythm, and with intention, like it had walked that staircase 100 times before and had every right to keep doing it. Whatever this was, it was aware of him. It was moving with purpose, and it was comfortable enough in that space to make no effort to hide. So he does what any rational person tries to do. He keeps working, stays focused, and leaves his camera running while he moves through the house. Again, while he's out of frame, the door swings violently open and slams shut completely on its own. Not a slow drift, not a gentle nudge from a cross breeze, but a full, aggressive open and shut that takes real force to produce. The kind of force that doesn't come from air pressure or a settling foundation. In paranormal research, doors are considered one of the most significant objects an entity can interact with because they represent barriers between rooms, between safety and exposure, between the known and the unknown. When an entity manipulates a door with that level of aggression, it isn't residual and it isn't accidental. That is intelligent activity. That is something making a deliberate statement about who actually controls that space. The photographer came in to do a job, but whatever lives in that house had already decided it wasn't interested in having a guest, and it wanted that point made clearly. But what is drawing this kind of energy to this specific location in the first place? That answer might be buried in the ground just outside. There's an old belief, one his dad apparently held firmly, that certain flowers only grow where a body has been laid in the earth, that something in the process of decomposition changes the soil in a way that pulls specific plants to the surface like a quiet, botanical confession. Whether that's rooted in something scientifically observable or purely in generations of folklore, people have quietly used it as an informal marker for forgotten graves for a very long time. He goes outside and sure enough, there they are, just sitting in the ground, quiet and unassuming, in a place that suddenly feels a lot heavier than it did before, like the air itself is pressing down a little harder right there. and then he goes back. Because once you've seen something like that, once the weight of what it might mean settles in, you can't just leave it alone. He returns to the area, this time pushing further out to the field on the abandoned farm nearby, looking for grave markers, physical evidence of lives that history decided weren't worth recording, people swallowed up by time and neglect, and a landscape that kept growing over them without pause. And that's when the field starts talking back. Not wind, not an echo bouncing off the tree line. Voices, rising up out of a stretch of land that has been left to rot and be forgotten for years, as if the ground itself had been waiting for someone to come close enough to hear it. And here is where the full picture snaps into focus. The shadow that followed him down the stairs. The door that slammed with enough force to make a point. The flowers growing silently over what might be unmarked graves. And now voices surfacing from a field that may be sitting on top of people who never got a proper burial, never got a headstone, never got anyone coming back to remember them. In paranormal theory, locations built near or above unacknowledged remains act as anchor points, concentrating energy, creating the exact atmospheric conditions that allow entities not just to exist, but to grow stronger over time, pulling more of the dark in around them like a wound that never closed. That house isn't haunted. In spite of what's outside it, it may be haunted because of it. Whatever is moving through those rooms, slamming doors, and casting shadows on staircases could be tethered to what's buried just beneath the surface of that field, fed by it, grounded by it, and completely unbothered by whoever walks through the front door. So what do you think? Is the entity in that house a lost soul anchored to the forgotten graves just outside its walls? Or is something far darker using those remains as a source of power? In this next clip, a singer going by long-winded music on TikTok was doing something completely ordinary, filming a quick video to invite people out to watch her band perform, the kind of casual, throwaway content that takes 30 seconds to record and means nothing beyond the post itself. Except that somewhere between hitting record and hitting post, she captured something in the closet directly behind her that she almost certainly didn't notice in the moment. There's a shadow, a shape, something with enough density to register on camera, shifting inside that closet while she's standing right there, completely unaware. Not a hanger swaying, not a curtain catching air, a figure moving with the kind of slow deliberateness that puts it in a completely different category from anything you'd want to explain away.
I just want to know how I can get people to come to our shows. How do we get people to come to our shows? No, I am just trying to understand. Tell me it doesn't look like there's someone right here. There's not.
And that's what makes this one stick. She wasn't ghost hunting. She wasn't in an abandoned building. She wasn't even trying to capture anything beyond a 30-second promo for her band. She was in her own space, in what should have been the most familiar and safe environment she knows. And something was standing in her closet, watching her film. In paranormal research, entities that appear in domestic spaces during completely mundane moments are considered far more unsettling than anything caught on a dedicated investigation, because it means there's no threshold, no special condition required for them to show up. So what do you think? Was that something passing through, or does long-winded music have a permanent audience she never agreed to? In this next clip, we're inside a small tailor shop in a marketplace late at night, long after the surrounding stalls have gone dark and quiet. The shopkeeper is still at it, head down, focused on his work, completely alone. Or at least, that's what he thinks, because the CCTV catches something that stops the whole scene cold. His reaction tells you everything. In paranormal research, markets and commercial spaces are considered high-energy locations. Decades of human traffic, emotion, and history soaked into the ground beneath them. Low-level kinetic activity, like this, small objects moving with quiet intention, is often one of the first signs of a presence making itself known. Not dramatic enough to cause panic, but deliberate enough that you can't quite shake it. So was something in that shop trying to get his attention? Or is there a less supernatural explanation just outside the camera's frame? In this next clip, we follow a mother named Sam who had been living with a persistent, creeping feeling for a long time. The kind that sits just below the surface. The sense that something in her own home was watching her, that she was never quite as alone as she should have been. She couldn't pin it down, couldn't point to anything specific, until she accidentally caught something on camera while filming her twin boys playing. The toddlers are running into a bedroom, completely in their own world, and buried in the audio is a distinct, disembodied woman's voice whispering, "Shh, quiet."
¿Qué pasó? ¿Quién está en el cuarto?
Sam confirmed she was completely alone in the house with her children at the time, no other adult present, no television running in the background, nothing that accounts for that voice. In paranormal research, this is a textbook EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon where an entity draws on the high-energy chaos of playing children to push itself into the audible range and make contact. Kids that age generate exactly the kind of frantic, unfiltered kinetic energy that entities seem to be able to use as a bridge. But the specific choice of words is what makes this one linger. Why tell them to be quiet? Some investigators believe domestic spirits fall back into old behavioral patterns, disciplining out of habit like they still have authority over the space. Others take a darker view that something was trying to hush the boys specifically to avoid being picked up on the recording. So what do you think? Is this a protective presence watching over those kids, or something that very much preferred to stay hidden? In this next clip, we're with a man named David who is working alone in a house, a renovation job, just him and his tools, in a space he has the only key to. No one else is supposed to be there. No one else can get in. And yet from pretty early on, it becomes obvious that David has company he didn't clock in with. You can see small, light footsteps moving through the space, the unmistakable pattern of a child walking.
Okay, so my last video wasn't too long, so I didn't press a 10-minute icon, but anyways, I'm just getting into work, right? Nobody in this unit, I'm the only one besides the owner with the key, and the owner lives all the way in New York. I'm in Oakland, California. So this unit had a fire a few years back. This was a little girl's room. This was her room. And I'm like lost for words right now, I'm sorry. Like, catch my breath, I'm getting chills, the hair standing up on my arms. But the girl that happened to pass away in this unit was 3 years old. Look at what the fuck I see on the ground. Those are not an adult-sized footprint. Going into the wall. This is where her bed was at, right here. I talked to the owner, I video called him and everything. And I've been here, and little kids laughing. I just thought it was coming from outside, but it's like a little. I felt something go like this to my ear, and yeah, I hear all the activity coming from that closet, and right here. But this really baffled me. Like I said, nobody else has the keys. There's no kids in here. I lock up everything. It's a 4-unit complex. Nobody's in here. Nobody. Been in here, there's an alarm system, so we got paranormal activity. Look at these little feet. Look at these little cute little feet. If you're in here, ghosts, I mean no harm. I'm Uncle Dave. You call me Uncle Dave. Just fixing up your room for you. Okay? But yeah, I believe in ghosts. So if you have anything paranormal, share it on Ghost. But man, I work in every environment, even if it's haunted, you know. But yeah, you know. But yeah, say something. If you hear some ghosts or whatever, or capture those activities, share it, man. Okay, peace out. God is love. See you later.
That detail alone changes the entire weight of this footage, because this isn't just unexplained audio in a random building. There is a specific child tied to a specific room in this specific house, and that is exactly where the sounds are coming from. David isn't speculating. He knows the history of the property, and you can hear in his voice that the sounds he's picking up are not surprising to him, so much as they are confirming something he probably already suspected. And then right near the end, a female voice comes through clearly, a hi, and then what sounds like bye, just seconds later, calm and deliberate, like something that wanted to be heard before it stepped back. But what makes this one travel beyond just David's experience is what happened after he posted the footage. People started texting him, saying that after watching the video, they were seeing footprints appearing in their own homes. In paranormal theory, certain entities are believed to be capable of moving through recorded media, using the footage as a channel to follow the signal wherever it plays. So, what do you think? Did David accidentally open a door that was never meant to be found? Or is the little girl in that room just happy that someone finally showed up? In the following clip you're about to watch, we take a midnight stroll through Tokyo's Aoyama Cemetery, a location legendary for its haunting history and ghost sightings. Most people are completely terrified to even step foot on these grounds after dark, but one brave explorer decided to walk through the shadows to see what the fuss was all about. While navigating the dark pathways, he suddenly hears a distinct cat meowing that startles him in the quiet night. His reaction was quick as he pans the camera towards the cemetery. However, when he watched the footage back, his camera picked up absolutely no trace of the feline's voice. But the missing audio isn't the most disturbing part of the walk. If you look carefully, when the camera turns into the cemetery area, a dark, shadow-like entity can be seen lingering amidst the tombstones. He was completely oblivious to its presence in the moment, not until people in the comments pointed his attention to it. So what exactly was stalking him from the dark, and why did it mask itself? In paranormal research, entities often use auditory trickery, known as phantom sounds, to disorient or distract a person. This could be an earthbound spirit, perhaps a residual energy of someone buried there, projecting the familiar sound of a meowing cat to lower his guard. By mimicking a harmless domestic animal, the spirit may have been trying to siphon his kinetic energy or lure him off the path while its shadow form observed him from the safety of the graves. Was this just a lonely soul using a familiar sound to draw a living connection? Or was a predatory entity trying to lure him deeper into the dark? In this next clip, an explorer decides to investigate a reported ghost sighting in the dense woods near his home. Equipped with a borrowed color night shot camera, he ventures out alone after dark to see if there is any truth to the local rumors. The initial atmosphere is completely still, but as he scans the tree line, he catches sight of a strange, pale anomaly shifting between the trees. He tries his best to steady his hands and zoom in for a better look, but whatever the entity is, it dissolves back into the shadows just as quickly as it appeared.
Where's it gone? There was something there. Sure, I saw something. Where is it? It was around here somewhere. It was here somewhere, but it's gone. I don't know where it is.
But the story didn't end in the forest. On a separate night, the creator experienced a deeply unsettling scenario. The realization that whatever presence you disturb in the wild might just follow you back to your personal space. While checking on a sudden disturbance in his own backyard, his camera picks up another pale, ambiguous figure moving stealthily behind the bushes. In paranormal research, a sequence like this is heavily associated with a concept known as spiritual attachment. The theory suggests that entities aren't always anchored to a single geographic location. Instead, when an individual enters their domain with a high level of hyperfocus, anticipation, and adrenaline, that intense emotional output can act like a beacon. The entity is thought to absorb this energy, using it as fuel to latch onto the investigator and follow them straight back to their home property. However, this footage has sparked an intense debate, and the skeptics make some incredibly strong arguments against it. Those who believe the video is fake point out that the heavy camera, shaking, sudden blurs, and rapid panning are classic techniques used to mask video edits or hide a practical effect, like a person in light clothing. Furthermore, early night shot cameras were notorious for heavy compression, meaning a stray reflection or a common nocturnal animal could easily be distorted into a ghostly shape. On the flip side, there are reasons to believe it could be genuine. Defenders of the clip point out the organic way the figure blends behind the complex, overlapping layers of branches, a feat that would have been remarkably difficult to cleanly render with consumer-grade digital editing software back when this was originally filmed. They also argue that the ambient audio and the raw tension in his breathing sound entirely unscripted. This leaves us with a classic supernatural dilemma. Was this just a clever piece of doctored footage meant to create an internet hoax? Or did this man genuinely capture an entity that followed him home from the woods? I'll let you decide. In this next clip, an Uber Eats driver named Marcus captures a bizarre chain of events while making a late-night delivery right next to a cemetery. While on his route, he begins hearing a heavy tapping and vibrating sound against his passenger window. With no one visible outside, he pulls over to check the exterior of his vehicle and see if something is caught underneath. While investigating outside, Marcus points his camera toward a discarded shoe sitting on a piece of cardboard by the curb, which suddenly shifts on its own. He quickly gets back into the driver's seat, but the situation escalates further when the passenger door unlatches and swings wide open completely by itself. What makes this sequence even more unusual is what Marcus discovered only after reviewing his dashcam footage later on. The interior camera shows a faint, translucent anomaly hopping directly through the closed passenger window just before the window began vibrating.
Doing my usual Uber eating, dropping off some food I swear, this of all address gotta be set by a cemetery. But I see this again, I'm just not gonna accept it. I'll tell you that. So make sure I'm not tripping. No. Make sure I'm not tripping. So, I'm dropping off the DoorDash, the Uber Eats, and I can't even get my daggone company straight. And you're gonna see a vibration. Go see tapping at the window. You're definitely gonna hear it. What the fuck? What the fuck was... Oh, hell no. Hell no. Fuck. What the? Why? What the? No, no. Oh hell, what the fuck was shit? Shit at me. Oh, shit. Oh, hell, no. Hell. No. Nope. No. No. No.
In paranormal research, proximity to a cemetery significantly increases the likelihood of encountering active spiritual energy. Graveyards are massive repositories of residual human history, and entities lingering in these spaces are frequently drawn to the bright headlights and kinetic energy of passing vehicles. The anomaly caught on the interior camera points toward a deliberate manifestation attempt. Because spirits lack a physical form, they must manipulate nearby objects, like the roadside shoe, or generate intense kinetic force to make their presence known, which directly explains the sudden, heavy vibrations on the window glass. Furthermore, unlatching and opening the heavy car door suggests the entity was executing a clear progression of activity, moving from outside disturbances to a physical invasion of Marcus's personal space. By utilizing the ambient energy of the environment, the presence managed to cross structural boundaries that would normally keep the physical world separate from the spiritual. So, do you think Marcus unwittingly invited a restless soul into his passenger seat? Or was this cemetery entity actively looking for a way to escape the confines of the graveyard? In this next clip, we look at a video captured by parents during a normal family gathering. At the start, a toddler is sitting calmly until his attention is drastically pulled toward the center of the room. His eyes clearly track an invisible path left and right, and he begins pointing towards something, following a trajectory that his parents completely miss. He then begins imitating the unseen presence, gesturing as if interacting with something right in front of him.
Non. Il est drôle avec son petit nom, hein? Il est vraiment dans Terrible 2, là, tu sais. Qu'est-ce que tu checkes là? C'est des fantômes, mon amour! Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Hein? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Quoi? Yes? Quoi? Parle! 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 Non! C'est comme, c'est moi la peste, si. Je m'en parle, mais ça me tente. Je m'inquiète pas, tu vas parler en tabarouette. Ah, maintenant, on va dire, Colin, t'as rappelles-tu quand tu parlais pas? Est-ce qu'on était bien, hein? Parce qu'il va me poser plein de questions tout le temps. Pourquoi papa ça? Pourquoi papa ça? Pourquoi maman ça? Pourquoi maman ça? On va bénir le temps où il faisait juste encore des sons. C'est bien, bien, on va voir juste l'armoire là.
Non, on le voyait super bien.
Il a caché là. Il vient de cacher qu'il est filmé là.
Là, tu peux te filmer là. Tu filmes encore.
J'ai oublié. Non. Oh ouais. Arrête de manger l'assiette, à l'eau. Oh.
Tes dents.
C'est bon là. Là, comment on va la stabiliser, la scène? C'est quoi que tu vas mettre là? Tu vas les mettre pour la figer là? Moi, il y a personne qui t'avait donné à manger, hein?
Young children are widely believed to possess a heightened sensitivity to spiritual phenomena. The underlying theory suggests that toddlers have not yet developed the psychological filters or rational skepticism that adults use to dismiss unusual sensory data, leaving their perception open to subtle environmental shifts and entities. In this instance, the child's reaction is not a gradual drift into daydreaming, but a sudden and deliberate engagement with a specific spot in the room. His physical tracking and imitation imply he is observing a clear visual stimulus. This could indicate an interaction with a residual energy signature or an intelligent spirit, perhaps a deceased relative, visiting the household. What do you think caught this toddler's eye? Was it just a sudden burst of a vivid imagination, or are young children genuinely capable of seeing things adults cannot? In this next clip, a family grieving a loss experiences a beautiful and bizarre moment of farewell. The on-screen text translates to, "If they hadn't recorded it, we wouldn't have believed it," as the family describes their belief that their deceased sister used a white, star-shaped foil balloon to navigate the house one last time to say goodbye and apologize to her brother. As you watch, the balloon moves down the hallway and enters the bedroom, where the brother is sitting quietly on the edge of the bed. Instead of drifting aimlessly toward the ceiling or being erratically pushed by a draft, the balloon appears to travel along a deliberate path, hovering directly in front of the young man. The most compelling detail occurs toward the end of the footage, when the brother suddenly flinches and stands up quickly from the bed, reacting as if someone had just physically touched him. Watch. Lightweight objects like balloons are frequently reported as mediums used by spirits to communicate, as they require very little kinetic energy to manipulate or guide. The family firmly interprets this event as a genuine spiritual farewell, dedicating the footage with the message, "Siempre vas a estar con nosotros, mi reina," which translates to, "You will always be with us, my queen." So what do you think? Was this an extraordinary coincidence involving indoor air currents, or did a grieving brother receive a tangible, physical sign from his sister? In the following clip, what starts as a heartwarming family gathering takes a deeply unsettling turn. The footage centers on an elderly woman bathed in the warm glow of candles as her family sings to her. It's a standard, grainy home video, but the atmosphere subtly shifts when you look past the festivities and focus on the open doorway in the background. As the song reaches its peak, a distinct, childlike shadow darts across the room. The movement is quick but deliberate, and the shape clearly resembles a little girl. Watch closely. The grandmother appears entirely unaware of the anomaly behind her, completely absorbed in the moment. Yet, the camera captures what the human eye easily missed in the chaotic joy of the celebration. What makes this particularly chilling is the context that often accompanies such manifestations in paranormal circles. Some viewers theorize that the shadow may be deeply connected to the grandmother's past. A common narrative attached to this footage suggests that the woman may have lost a young daughter many decades ago. If that is the case, could this be the residual energy of a child returning to celebrate her mother's milestone? Or perhaps more ominously, certain folklore dictates that the sudden appearance of a long-deceased loved one acts as a harbinger, a spectral sign that they are preparing to guide the elderly family member to the other side. Is this simply a trick of the lighting, a living relative passing by unnoticed, or a fleeting glimpse of an entity from beyond the veil? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In this next clip, we see exactly why working in a mortuary or a funeral home requires a profound level of mental fortitude and an inherent comfort with the concept of mortality. These facilities are designed to be final way stations for the deceased, places where families gather to release their heaviest, most agonizing emotions. Because of this intense concentration of grief and transition, paranormal researchers have long considered funeral homes to be highly active epicenters for the supernatural. Usually, this activity is thought to be residual, a sort of emotional echo permanently etched into the very foundations of the building. But what happens when that energy stops being a simple echo and begins to interact with the living? Recently, a mortuary worker began documenting her shifts after noticing a disturbing pattern of inexplicable disturbances, and her footage provides a terrifying look at an escalation that defies all logical explanation. The deeply unsettling series of events begins early one morning before the facility is officially open. The worker is alone, surrounded by the sterile, quiet atmosphere of the embalming rooms, quietly prepping for the arduous tasks ahead. Having felt a heavy, oppressive presence in the building during previous night shifts, she decides to keep her camera rolling. The silence of the mortuary is profound, but it doesn't take long for that quiet to be violently broken by an auditory anomaly. Take a look. Listening closely, the vocalization carries a highly peculiar tone. It sounds like a hollow, agonizing wail that almost borders on a mocking laugh. In the context of a funeral home, one might easily write this off as a trick of the acoustics or a draft whistling through the ventilation. However, the sheer volume and human-like cadence of the sound make it incredibly difficult to debunk. But as her documentation continues over the following days, it becomes terrifyingly clear that this presence is not just a passive recording of the past. It is fully aware of her, and it is growing bolder. In a subsequent recording, the worker is no longer alone. She is joined by her son, who frequently accompanies her to assist with the heavy lifting and late-night duties. The presence of a second witness completely shifts the dynamic, grounding the experience in absolute reality. Watch their immediate reaction as the physical environment begins to manipulate itself right in front of their eyes.
Are you always alone when you're there at night? So thankfully I'm not always alone. My son also comes to help me. He has been by my side for the last few years. He's gonna be 19 soon, but he is so respectful, and he also helps on removals, and he helps me dress the loved ones. That's what we just got done with now. Tonight we had a loved one that was in really good shape, very peaceful, and it didn't take us long. And it's to the point where I don't even have to tell him what to do. He is already seasoned enough to know what we need to do. He hands me the correct tools. You know, he's a really good help. And I'm so thankful that Was that you?
No.
Was that you?
No. Look at the video, wasn't me.
What was that?
I don't know.
Well, what'd you hear?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why is that always happening?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm just thankful that he's here. So, and we're done. So.
A heavy, solid door is caught moving entirely on its own, unprompted by any visible force. Mortuary and hospital-grade doors are notoriously weighty, deliberately designed to seal off specific rooms and prevent air circulation. A simple draft, or the natural settling of an old building, simply does not possess the kinetic energy required to unlatch and move a door of that size. The genuine visceral shock on her son's face is perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence here. His fight or flight response is triggered instantly. This leap from an auditory phenomenon to a physical manipulation strongly suggests the anomaly has gathered enough energy to interact with our three-dimensional space. From this point forward, the tension within the facility compounds at a rapid pace, and the entity begins to localize its activity. While standing in the corridor, the mother and son are suddenly frozen by the sound of aggressive, inexplicable shouting originating from the facility's chapel.
Hey you guys, we haven't made a video in a little while, so I just wanted to come on and kind of refresh everybody with just a little mortician tip here. I don't know if everybody's aware. So when you bring in the clothing to the funeral home, yes, you want your loved one dressed in something either they loved, or say they were in the military and they have, you know, military getup that they want on, their favorite shirt, their favorite pants, pajamas even, just so everyone's aware. I think that this is something people don't tend to think about. But in our world, when families bring us clothing, sometimes they're not aware that in order for the clothing to really fit properly, say it's too big, too small, we have to cut the back of the clothing in order to place it on your loved one. So sometimes if families request the favorite shirt back, or, you know, their favorite set of whatever they have on, it will be cut. It's very rare, unless the clothing is perfectly fitted to that person, that the director won't have to cut it. I've worked in several funeral homes where they don't cut it, and it... Is anybody here?
No, what is
here?
Time to go.
What?
Time to go.
We're the only ones here. I have to go look.
There's always when you videotape.
Okay, let's go. We're going.
The chapel is the emotional core of any funeral home, the exact room where the living confront their final goodbyes. The voices captured here are not faint whispers caught on a sensitive audio recorder. They are loud, confrontational shouts echoing from a completely empty room. The aggression in the anomaly is so palpable that her son immediately states they need to leave, a primal instinct that the mother quickly and wisely agrees with. Fear is a natural response, and when an unseen entity begins raising its voice in an empty building, retreating is often the safest protocol. However, the most terrifying escalation occurs on an entirely separate day, proving that the entity is not a fleeting visitor, but a permanent resident. While filming in the facility, another loud, jarring noise emanates from the chapel doors. Rather than retreating this time, the mother and son decide to cautiously approach the room to investigate the source. But whatever is dwelling in that chapel seemingly senses their approach and pushes back with a massive display of power.
So we're here working. We were hearing some noises in the chapel, so we actually decided to come in the chapel and make this informative video to see if we could catch any of the noises. So I'm gonna explain what this is on today's mortuary information video. So there are times where we get loved ones who are donors. They're bone donors. They take skin, they take what they can for things that anybody may need, right? So when they come to us, we have to prepare them properly, and sometimes there are issues where there can be leakage. So in order to prevent the leakage and keep it contained, the deceased would go in one of these, which is called a unional. A unional contains all of the fluid and contains all the fluid, and it makes sure that while your loved one is being presented in the visitation, we don't have any issues with anything, you know. Okay, let's go see, because now I'm in the chapel and I'm not, oh my God.
Did the lights go
Dude,
off
the
on
lights
you?
went off right when that happened.
You wanna go?
It's always when we're recording, it never fails.
It's the camera.
Anyways.
Just as they step forward to uncover the source of the disturbance, the lights in the corridor are completely severed, plunging them into absolute darkness. This sudden blackout is deeply baffling and crosses a dangerous line. In paranormal theory, it is widely believed that spirits and entities require vast amounts of ambient energy to manifest physically or audibly. They will often drain batteries, drop the ambient temperature, or siphon power directly from a building's electrical grid. The precise timing of this blackout suggests an intelligent entity capable of manipulating the environment, either draining the power to gather strength for a larger manifestation or intentionally plunging the room into darkness to assert dominance and incite terror. It is a calculated, psychological strike against the witnesses. Even after this intense, confrontational encounter, the presence refuses to back down, continually toying with the worker and her environment. In a final piece of footage, the mortuary worker is attempting to film a standard update, speaking calmly to the camera. Yet, the entity reminds her exactly who is in control of the space. The lighting above her begins to pulse and flicker erratically. To prove there is no logical interference, she immediately pans the camera to the wall, revealing a completely empty hallway and confirming that no one is anywhere near the light switch.
Everyone, it's 11:45 p.m. and I'm here at the funeral home, and I wanted to make a video to kind of explain. A lot of people aren't aware or are confused as to why funeral directors are at the funeral home at 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So death can occur at any time, morning, afternoon, evening, and funeral directors have to be ready to go at any time. So, you know, if a funeral director gets a call, they'll make that removal at the place of death, bring the loved one to the funeral home, and if they are going to be embalmed, that embalming is usually done at that time. So funeral directors can be at the funeral home all night. If they are getting multiple calls while they're embalming, they have to stop and go and come and finish and go and come and stop and all that stuff. So sometimes funeral directors are at the funeral home all night, and then they have to work in the office the next morning, meeting with families, taking out services. It can get really exhausting, but for me tonight, I am here, or I just got finished dressing a loved one for their services tomorrow. And I like to come in the night because there's no one here. It's peaceful, it's quiet. I can take my time and pay 100% full attention to that loved one without worrying, you know, oh, I have to go answer the phone or I have to leave on a call. I can just actually come and take my time and concentrate. So I do like coming in the night because of that. And okay, that was weird. I don't like that. The light switch is right there. The light just flickered. And I'm gonna cut this video short because that is cue for It's My Time to Go.
The intelligence behind these combined occurrences is highly disturbing. We are looking at a clear, methodical escalation. What began as a distant, mournful cry evolved into the physical manipulation of heavy doors, aggressive vocalizations, and the deliberate, targeted manipulation of the building's electrical system. The facility appears to be hosting something that absolutely demands to be acknowledged. Is this simply the collected, heavy energy of 1,000 grieving families manifesting physically in the architecture, or has a specific, highly intelligent entity refused to cross over, trapping itself forever between the chapel and the embalming room? I'll leave you to be the judge. In this next clip, a worker at what appears to be a large cemetery or mortuary complex captures a series of events that suggest he is far from alone during his night shift. According to the man recording, he began documenting the area after noticing small objects being toyed with by an unseen force. Though he speaks in Spanish, the terror in his voice is universal as he repeatedly asks, "Who is there?" The footage begins with a focus on a simple water bottle resting on a flat stone ledge. Take a look.
¿Vieron la botella? ¿Vieron la botella? ¿La vieron? Si estás aquí, manifiéstate. Escucho algo. Escucho algo. ¿Hola? Mira, se cayó, se cayó, se cayó, se cayó, se cayó. Al mismo tiempo, amigos, al mismo tiempo, mira alguien ahí al fondo. Buenas noches. ¡Ay, Dios! ¡Ay, Dios! ¡Ay, Dios! No, 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 no. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Hola? Ay. ¿Quién eres? Ven. ¿Hay alguien aquí? ¿Hay alguien aquí? ¿Hola?
The initial movement of the water bottle is unsettling. It doesn't slide as if pushed by a localized draft, but rather shifts with a deliberate jerky motion that suggests a physical grip. As the worker ventures deeper into the narrow corridors between the tombs, the activity becomes more aggressive. A large plastic container is caught on camera falling and tumbling across his path, appearing as though it were violently thrown from the dark recesses of the complex. The anomaly only deepens when the camera pans toward the back of the graveyard, briefly catching a glimpse of a pale, stationary figure standing over a grave in the distance. The most baffling part of this encounter, however, involves the religious iconography present at the site. Among the various items being manipulated, the large cross mounted atop one of the tombs appears to shift and tilt on its own. In paranormal research, the physical movement of heavy, fixed objects, especially those of a religious nature, is often categorized as high-energy poltergeist activity. It suggests an entity capable of significant kinetic output, or perhaps a residual energy that has become strong enough to influence the physical world. If you were alone in a graveyard and witnessed a cross-shifting of its own accord, would you stay to see what manifested next, or would you find a new line of work? In this clip you're about to watch, a mum and her husband had been noticing things around their house that just didn't add up. Small stuff at first, the kind of thing you brush off and blame on stress or a long day. But when it keeps happening, you stop brushing it off and you start setting up cameras. They installed one the night before this was filmed, and it took less than 24 hours to catch something. She gets up from the little bouncy ball seat to put her baby down for a nap. A completely ordinary Tuesday afternoon moment. And that's when the ball starts moving on its own. No one near it, no draft, no pet bumping into it. Just a slow, deliberate sway that has absolutely no business happening in an empty room. Now here's what stands out the most. The movement isn't frantic or violent. It's almost calm, like whatever is in that house is just making its presence known, casual about it even. And that detail matters, because it tells us this isn't a one-time spike of energy. This is something comfortable, something that's been there long enough to feel at home. One thing that some paranormal researchers actually suggest in situations like this is acknowledging the presence out loud, letting it know you're aware of it, but firmly stating you want to be left alone. Some people swear by it. Whether it works consistently or not is a whole other conversation. But the fact that people reach for that strategy tells you something. Sometimes the most unsettling thing isn't the activity itself, it's the feeling that something is listening. And whatever is in this house, it's definitely listening, because the activity doesn't stop there. She's home alone this time when the camera picks up something that stops you cold right at the top of the footage. A male voice, clear enough to make you rewind it twice, says something that sounds exactly like, "Wash your hands with soap." That is a full sentence, spoken by a voice that has no physical body attached to it. And what makes it even more unnerving is how mundane it is. It's not a growl or a scream, it's instructions. Like something that used to live in that space is still going through the motions of daily life, completely unbothered by the fact that it's dead. This kind of EVP, where a disembodied voice speaks in plain, conversational language, is actually more commonly reported than people realize. There are accounts of people walking through a completely empty room and suddenly hearing a man's voice speak directly to them, close enough to feel like someone is standing right next to them. It never gets less terrifying, no matter how many times you hear it described. The third piece of footage is what really shifts this from active haunting to something potentially more layered. Her husband had just finished mounting a new camera in the hallway, and they were checking the angle on her phone when the camera picks up what sounds unmistakably like a child giggling. Her husband heard it with his own ears in real time. Their son was in his room playing, accounted for. But here's the detail that makes your skin crawl. His camera cut out at the exact moment the giggle was captured, and in the footage from his room, just seconds before, there's a faint whisper buried underneath the sound of him playing with his toys.
They'll pull on. Well, actually, I think they pull on their ears when they're teething, so we need to look it up. Nice. What? I don't know if he's discovered his ear and that's why he's playing with it, or if it's hers.
So what are we actually dealing with here? The combination of a calm, domestic presence moving objects, a male voice issuing mundane commands, and what sounds like a child's laughter points towards something layered, possibly multiple energies occupying the same space. In paranormal theory, a location that accumulates this kind of varied activity often acts as an anchor point, drawing in different residual imprints over time. But the fact that the son's camera cut out precisely during that giggle suggests something more intelligent than residual, something that's not just replaying the past, something that's aware of the cameras, aware of the family, and apparently fully settled in. So, what do you think? Is this family sharing their home with leftover echoes of the past? Or is something far more intentional making itself comfortable in their house?